Jeremiah wiped the sweat from his brow as he hammered another nail into the wooden frame. The Chicago summer heat was unforgiving, and his boss's constant barking of orders didn't help. "Pick up the pace, boys. We're behind schedule." Jeremiah gritted his teeth, pushing through the fatigue. His mind wandered to his true passion, woodworking. He'd always dreamed of opening his own carpentry shop, crafting beautiful furniture instead of enduring the grueling construction work. During his lunch break, Jeremiah sat apart from his coworkers, munching on a sandwich. He couldn't help but overhear their conversation. "Did you see that fancy car that drove by earlier? Must be nice to live like that," one of them remarked. Another chimed in, "Yeah, those rich folks don't know what real work is." Jeremiah felt a pang of discomfort. He didn't quite fit in with their bitter outlook, but he also couldn't relate to the lifestyle they were criticizing. As the workday ended, Jeremiah headed home on foot, his muscles aching from the day's labor. Suddenly, he noticed a woman struggling with a flat tire on her expensive-looking car. Without hesitation, he approached to offer help. "Need a hand?" he called out. The woman looked up, relief flooding her face. "Oh, thank goodness. Yes, please." As Jeremiah began working on the tire, he and the woman, who introduced herself as Emily, exchanged glances and warm smiles. There was an immediate spark between them, a connection that felt both unexpected and natural. After exchanging numbers at the roadside, Jeremiah and Emily agreed to meet at a local cafe. The atmosphere was relaxed as they sat across from each other, sipping coffee and sharing stories from their childhoods. Jeremiah talked about growing up in a blue-collar family, learning the value of hard work from his father. Emily shared memories of her artistic mother who inspired her career choice. As their conversation deepened, Emily opened up about her challenges as a woman in the male-dominated interior design industry. "It's frustrating when clients assume I'm just an assistant or when my ideas are dismissed in meetings," she confided. Jeremiah nodded, understanding all too well. "I get it. On the construction site, there's always someone trying to prove they're tougher or more skilled. It's exhausting." Their shared experiences of workplace struggles created a bond between them. They laughed at each other's jokes and found common ground in their love for creating things with their hands. However, as Emily mentioned a recent project for a high-end client, Jeremiah felt a flicker of insecurity. He glanced down at his calloused hands, then at Emily's manicured nails, suddenly aware of the gulf between their worlds. The easy chemistry between them remained, but a shadow of doubt had crept into Jeremiah's mind about where this connection might lead. The next morning, Jeremiah stumbled out of his modest apartment, rubbing sleep from his eyes. He froze in disbelief at the sight before him. A gleaming Bentley parked in his driveway. The luxury car looked comically out of place in his working-class neighborhood. Confusion and shock battled in his mind as he approached the vehicle, half expecting it to disappear like a mirage. Before he could process the situation, Emily pulled up in her own car, her face beaming with excitement. She hopped out, practically bouncing as she approached him. "Surprise!" she exclaimed. "I wanted to help you make a great impression at work and with potential clients. This car will definitely turn heads." Jeremiah stood speechless, torn between appreciation for her generous gesture and overwhelming discomfort. As Emily enthusiastically explained her gift, Jeremiah noticed his neighbors peering out their windows and whispering among themselves. Mrs. Johnson from next door walked by, giving him a disapproving look. The tension in the air was palpable. Jeremiah's mind raced, thinking about the gossip that would surely spread through the neighborhood. He struggled to find the right words to express his conflicted feelings to Emily, whose smile began to falter as she sensed his unease. Later that day, Jeremiah paced in his living room, trying to find the right words to discuss the car situation with Emily. When she arrived, he took a deep breath and began, "Emily, I really appreciate your generosity, but I'm not sure I can accept the Bentley. It's too much." He explained his concerns about what others might think and how it could affect his relationships in the neighborhood. Emily listened intently, then responded with a mixture of confusion and determination. "But Jeremiah, why should we care what others think? This is about helping you advance in your career. Don't let their opinions hold you back." Her words were well-intentioned, but they didn't fully address the complexity of Jeremiah's feelings. As they continued to discuss the issue, Jeremiah found himself torn between his pride and the potential opportunities the car might bring. He could see the practicality in Emily's argument, but he couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort. The conversation deepened their understanding of each other, but it also highlighted the differences in their perspectives. Despite the growing connection between them, the external pressures and judgments were beginning to cast a shadow over their relationship, planting seeds of insecurity in both of their minds. At a gathering with his friends at a local bar, Jeremiah found himself in an uncomfortable position. His buddies, having heard about the Bentley, bombarded him with questions and comments. "So, you've got yourself a rich girlfriend now, huh?" one teased. Another chimed in, "Must be nice to have someone swoop in and solve all your problems." Jeremiah tried to explain that it wasn't like that, but he struggled to find the right words without sounding defensive or ungrateful. Meanwhile, Emily faced her own set of challenges at a work event. As she discussed a recent project, a colleague interjected, "Oh, is this the one you're working on with your new friend? The construction worker?" The condescension in her tone was unmistakable. Emily felt a surge of anger and protectiveness towards Jeremiah, but also a twinge of doubt about how their relationship might affect her professional reputation. Later that evening, Jeremiah and Emily met up, both feeling drained from their respective encounters. As they sat in a quiet corner of a park, they opened up about the pressures they were facing. "I feel like I'm caught between two worlds," Jeremiah admitted. Emily nodded. "I know what you mean. It's like people can't see past our labels." They found solace in each other's company, realizing that despite the external judgments, they felt most understood when they were together. After much deliberation, Jeremiah decided to accept the Bentley. He reasoned that it could indeed open doors for him professionally, potentially leading to better job opportunities. With a mix of excitement and apprehension, he drove the luxury car to a job interview at a high-end construction firm. As Jeremiah entered the office, he immediately sensed the skeptical glances from the receptionist and other employees. During the interview, the hiring manager's eyes kept darting to the window where the Bentley was visible in the parking lot. "That's quite a car for someone in your position," the manager remarked, his tone laced with suspicion. Jeremiah felt his face flush as he tried to explain, but he could tell his words were falling on deaf ears. The interviewer seemed more interested in how he acquired the car than in his actual qualifications. When Jeremiah recounted the experience to Emily, she was supportive but also visibly troubled. "They're just narrow-minded," she assured him, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. As they talked, Emily revealed that she too was feeling the strain. Her colleagues had been making snide comments about her charity case boyfriend. The pressure was causing her to question her own career choices and the image she'd built for herself in the design world. The weight of societal expectations was beginning to take its toll on both of them, creating a tension that neither had anticipated. Weeks passed, and Jeremiah managed to secure a new job at a smaller construction firm. The work was challenging, and he struggled to fit in with his new colleagues who seemed wary of his connection to Emily. Meanwhile, Emily threw herself into a high-profile design project that could potentially launch her career to new heights. The stress of their individual challenges began to seep into their relationship. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Jeremiah arrived at Emily's apartment. The tension was palpable as they began discussing their days. "I just don't understand why you can't embrace this opportunity," Emily said, frustration evident in her voice. "The car, the connections, it's all to help you." Jeremiah felt his temper rising. "You don't get it, do you? I can't just erase who I am or where I come from. Your world isn't mine." The argument escalated quickly. Emily accused Jeremiah of being ungrateful and stuck in his ways, while he lashed out about feeling like a charity case. Words were said that cut deep on both sides. As the fight reached its peak, Jeremiah stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Driving home in the Bentley that now felt more like a burden than a gift, he made a decision. He needed time away from Emily, away from the pressure and expectations, to figure out what he truly wanted from his life. During his time apart from Emily, Jeremiah found himself at a local hardware store, aimlessly wandering the aisles. He bumped into Mike, an old friend from his early construction days. As they caught up, Mike mentioned he'd recently started his own small contracting business. "It's tough," But I'm finally doing what I love, Mike said with pride. His words struck a chord with Jeremiah, reigniting the long-dormant dream of opening his own carpentry shop. Inspired by the conversation, Jeremiah began spending his evenings and weekends in his garage, working on small woodworking projects. He started with a simple bookshelf, then moved on to more intricate pieces. The feel of wood under his hands and the satisfaction of creating something beautiful from raw materials rekindled his passion. He even set up a small online store to sell his creations, surprised by the positive response he received. While Jeremiah was rediscovering his true calling, Emily faced her own crossroads. A major design firm offered her a prestigious position with a substantial salary increase. It was the kind of opportunity she'd always thought she wanted. However, as she reviewed the contract, she felt a sense of unease. The job would require her to compromise on her design principles and work on projects that didn't align with her values. Emily found herself questioning whether this was truly the path she wanted to follow. After weeks of reflection, Jeremiah realized he needed to reconnect with Emily. He missed her presence in his life and wanted to share his journey of self-discovery. With newfound confidence, he drove to her apartment, rehearsing what he would say. When Emily opened the door, Jeremiah was struck by the mix of relief and apprehension in her eyes. They sat down, and he began explaining his recent experiences. "I've rediscovered my passion for woodworking," he said, showing her photos of his projects. "I think I want to pursue this full-time, maybe even open my own shop someday." To his surprise, Emily's face lit up with understanding. "I've gone through some changes too," she admitted. She explained how she had turned down the prestigious job offer, realizing it would have compromised her integrity. "I've decided to start my own design firm," she revealed. "I want to work on projects that truly matter to me." As they shared their new visions and hopes, a renewed connection blossomed between them. They realized that their time apart had allowed them both to grow and find clarity about their paths. However, the conversation wasn't without tension. They both acknowledged that societal pressures and expectations still loomed large. "It won't be easy," Jeremiah said, voicing their shared concern. Emily nodded, squeezing his hand. "But at least now we know who we are and what we want." Weeks later, Emily organized a gala to launch her new design firm. Jeremiah, dressed in a rented suit, arrived to support her. As he entered the lavish venue, he felt eyes on him, sensing the whispers and curious glances from the well-heeled attendees. He pushed through his discomfort, focusing on finding Emily in the crowd. Before he could reach her, a group of industry bigwigs cornered him. "So, you're Emily's friend," one said, barely concealing his disdain. "Tell us, how does a construction worker end up at an event like this?" The group's thinly veiled criticism made Jeremiah's face burn with anger and embarrassment. Suddenly, Emily appeared at his side, her eyes flashing with determination. "Gentlemen, I see you've met Jeremiah," she said, her voice carrying across the room. "He's not just my friend, but also a talented craftsman whose work has inspired my latest designs." The crowd fell silent as Emily continued. "In fact, the centerpiece you've all been admiring? That's Jeremiah's creation." Emily then dropped a bombshell that left the room stunned. "And as for the Bentley that's caused so much gossip," she said, looking directly at Jeremiah, "it was never meant to be a gift. It was a test set up by my mentor to see if I could look beyond surface appearances and recognize true talent and character." She turned to address the crowd, "A test I nearly failed, until I realized what really matters isn't the car you drive, but the passion and integrity you bring to your work." The revelation sent shockwaves through the gathering. Jeremiah stood there, processing the information, a mix of emotions washing over him. As the initial shock subsided, he and Emily exchanged a look of understanding. They realized that their journey had taught them both valuable lessons about authenticity, self-worth, and the true meaning of success. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, they knew they were now equipped to face them together on their own terms.